speaker. He's coming from Basel, Switzerland today, directly to share with us his journey of excellence and innovation acceleration and business transformation. So Alan Bindels, please do join us. Go ahead and turn on your camera, and I'll do a short introduction for Alan. Alan Bindels is the head of innovation facilitation and digitalization for Roche. He is a trained agile coach and transformation lead with experience in human and patient-centric design of healthcare, and has been working with for more than 12 years at Roche in different roles. He has extensive innovation management experience. He has set up an innovation and agility program to build new capabilities in the organization to support the organizational transformation. This program supports the company's transformation to move the organization to a more self-organized digital company. Alan, what a pleasure to have you with us. On behalf of our global audience, we're very grateful for you to take the time to share your expertise and the journey of transformation with all of us.
Thank you, Jose, and I hope you can hear me well.
Yes.
Okay, I'm very excited to actually be here today and to share my learnings and also the programs that we have at Roche. And I hope this can help some of you in your own transformation journey and digital journey in your company. So to start, went too fast. Of course, during the COVID time, we've seen an increase of the digital transformation in healthcare. And just to give a few examples, right, like a lot of people couldn't go to the hospital, couldn't go to doctors, could not access the healthcare system. And therefore, a lot of the hospitals and doctors try to also connect digitally through telemedicine and to really experiment with new digital tools that they can connect with patients and with the healthcare professionals. And of course, this is somehow helping, I would say, the healthcare system to become more digital. But of course, we're not going fast enough. So I hope after today's presentation, you're a bit more inspired as well of what are the examples that we're thinking about for digitalization in healthcare at Roche. So in Roche, we have a strategy called personalized healthcare. And this is really about how can we find the right treatment for the right patient at the right time, right? So to really define how is a patient, let's say, reacting to a drug, like what is his genomics, what is all the biological background of the patient, what are the different biomarkers that we can know in advance, whether the patient will react to the drug. So it's about diagnosis of the patient, but it's also about treatment. I will speak a little bit more about the strategy. So personalized healthcare solutions for patients, right? I mentioned already genomic profiling. So that is one part. Then we also look into real-world data endpoints, right? So we collect data directly from the patient, and then we can see how the patient is progressing throughout their treatment. So whether the patient is improving or maybe the treatment is not going that well, we can see that directly by the data that is being collected, either to apps, to sensors, to really understand, okay, what are they going through? Another focus area is value-based pricing, right? So really outcome-based. So this means the patient or the healthcare system is only paying when the drug is really having a positive effect on the patient. And this is a very important strategy for us. Companion apps, right? I mentioned already that we're developing apps that are used by the patient throughout their treatment journey to really understand how are they developing during this phase, and to also see if the treatment is really working or whether we need to make adaptations. And this also will help the physician or the treating physician to really understand, okay, is it going well with the patient? Do they have any questions? Are they doing well during the treatment? Do we need to support them, etc.? Another part is the clinical decision-making support. So this is really there to support healthcare professionals like doctors, oncologists, nurses, in supporting them in how can they diagnose the patient in the best way and take treatment decisions based upon data, right? So we're collecting a lot of data throughout the patient journey, and how do we aggregate all this data and present it in such a way to the healthcare professional that they can take a good decision based upon all the data that they have. And then, of course, we're building local ecosystems in the different affiliates, in the different countries for our personalized healthcare strategy. So what does it really mean, right? Embedding this personalized healthcare strategy throughout everything we do. I mean, it starts already in R&D. So it's really about understanding better the science, understanding better the insights from our patients, from our doctors, and also to take faster go, no-go decisions based upon data. So there's a lot around collecting data, analyzing data, doing deep analytics on the data, and really taking decisions on that. Also, our clinical trials can be more efficient and faster and more automated, right? Because at the moment, we're running a lot of clinical trials. We're collecting a lot of patient data, clinical data, hospital data, and how can we analyze all the data more efficiently, more automated, and then take decisions and even, you know, stop trials earlier or stop a treatment if it doesn't work, etc. Then also access to healthcare, right? So how can we match the right patients with the right therapies? So really from the diagnosis onwards, making sure that we do, for example, genomic analysis of the patient, doing also biomarker research, so trying to understand which biomarker, which patient is potentially reacting positively towards this treatment. And then also improving the access to value-based healthcare in different countries, specifically in developing countries like Africa, South America, or Asia. And really accelerating the optimization of care, right? So end-to-end process. When you enter the hospital, you do the diagnosis, you do the treatment, and even post-treatment, keeping an eye on how the patient is doing and making sure if anything goes wrong, that of course the physician or the hospital is contacted. So to advance this ecosystem, we really have to work more closely with the patients, first of all, right? To really understand their needs and to really understand their burning topics or burning needs that they have. So we work very closely with patient organization, with different patients as well, so individual patients, to really understand how can we move those needs forward. Then working very closely with the physicians and providers, right? So to really understand, again, what are their needs, what are their pain points, and providing solutions, often also digital solutions, to help them. Then working very closely with governments and payers to also encourage investment in healthcare, in also new healthcare systems, and of course in digital health. So this is really done at a local level. And also shaping the regulatory environment, right? So as you can imagine, all these digital apps, medical apps, which are completely new, even for regulators, right? So how do you regulate like medical devices, medical apps? You know, is it the same as a drug? It's not, right? So how do you make sure that we influence the regulatory environment and the landscape to make it easier for those solutions to come to the market and to also be updated on a regular basis? So one of the points I mentioned before is medical software and the value of digital health, right? So we are investing a lot also in Roche Diagnostics and in Roche Pharma on this part. So if you look into medical and digital health, there are 4 different categories. So the first category is software as a medical device, right? So this is really categorized as a medical device and is using, for example, artificial intelligence to learn and understand how the treatment is working during the patient journey, and also to monitor the disease, to monitor the progression of the patient. And also this could be an app that is being used by the patient, him or herself, where they provide information, do exercises, you know, some simple measurements are being taken. This is directly fed back to the system and then being analyzed. Then also developing more digital endpoints, digital biomarkers. So these are biomarkers that are also being used, for example, in such a medical device, right? So it's really, how can we quantify, how can we analyze specific medical data or specific data that we receive from the patient and create somehow an algorithm or create somehow an endpoint that says, okay, the patient is doing better, and actually this gives us the information. So this can be used in wearables, in portables, this type of devices. But of course, because it's a new field, right? In the past, a lot of these medical tests were done at the clinic in the hospital. So meaning they were like really old tests that exist since maybe sometimes 100 years. So how do you move from a physical test in a hospital to a digital test that the patient can do at their home, right? So this also requires a lot of research and a lot of validation of that biomarker or digital endpoint. And of course, also influencing, I would say, the medical field, the medical knowledge that this biomarker can be used instead of, let's say, the physical test in the doctor's office. Then the clinical decision support software. So this is also a field, as we see that many doctors and mainly oncologists, they're receiving a lot of different data. So data from lab, blood data, can be MRI data, scans, data from the surgery, pathological labs, genomic data, and all that data needs to be analyzed, right? So to make the work easier for a physician to analyze all the data, we have developed different softwares that are directly, aggregating all those data points, then analyzing the data, and also giving some advice to the doctor what potentially disease this could be, and even potentially what treatments are available on the market today. Then software as a health or wellness app. So this is not considered a medical device. These are really apps that support patients, right? So it can be an app that supports a patient during their clinical trial, right? So it reminds them, for example, of a doctor visit. It reminds them of maybe to do more exercise, about well-being, right? So it's not considered as a medical device, and it's not used as a medical treatment or take medical decisions, but it's more supporting them, in their journey as a patient. So one of the examples I would like to show today is the Floodlight. So Floodlight Open is actually a medical device that we developed for multiple sclerosis. And it's really an app, a medical app that is being shared with the patient, where they can directly also monitor their disease. They can, enter specific data. They have like simple tests that they have to do to understand whether the treatment is working and whether they're improving, throughout the treatment. And if not, of course, that they can also reach out directly to their healthcare professional. So really how it works, it really is something that we developed within Roche. We developed, let's say, digital biomarkers, these tests that normally were done at the hospital or in the doctor's office, and created somehow a digital test that they can perform on their phone. So these are tests that are looking at the motoric skills of the patient. So the balance of the patient, walking test, there's tests with the eye movement, there's tests with also sometimes the voice. And all of these tests are indicators of whether the multiple sclerosis disease is progressing. And this now has been rolled out and also has been already used by many different patients. And we see a very good uptake and also a very good evaluation of their treatment, right? So we can really see if the treatment is working. We can see if they're progressing, or maybe sometimes it's not going so well. So we can really see that by using the app. And also the feedback from patients directly, it's very helpful because they can really monitor their disease. They get even like some feedback as well, how they're doing. And this is also helping them to keep their disease under control. Another example I want to show is on clinical decision making support. So this is really supporting the physicians in the hospital, the oncologists, with all the data that they're collecting. And the solution that we have here is the Medify platform, which is really streamlining all the different workflows and data that is being collected in the hospital using different tests, right? So be it genomic data, be it lab data, be it MRI scans. So all the data that the physician is using to somehow make a decision whether, first of all, what is the diagnosis of the patient, but also what treatment might be beneficial for this patient. And this Medify tumor board is very useful and also was proven very useful during COVID times, right? Because often physicians, they meet with different physicians, sometimes from different hospitals, to discuss all their patients, right? So they go through each patient, they look at all the different data, and then they, as a board, right, like a physician board, they take a decision, okay, this patient has this type of cancer and this treatment would be the best for that patient. So during COVID time, using the tumor board, right, in a virtual setting, they could still, meet between the physicians and share the data, look at the patient data in more detail. And this is something that has been developed together with GE Healthcare. And I think it's a great opportunity for digitalization in the hospitals, so really helping the physicians. And I hope that also we see more of these digital solutions in the hospital coming in the future. So you've seen a few examples, right? Like on new digital solutions that we would like to develop more in the future. And imagine like Roche is a 125-year-old company, very specialized in drug development, in diagnostic development. But again, it's really focused on either the treatment, the drug, or on a diagnosis. So how do you then prepare for those skills for developing health apps, medical devices, data science skills? How do you develop digital biomarkers? This requires a different type of skill sets than maybe the more common scientists that we used to have in our company. So to do this, to really shift the mindset and the behavior of our employees, we are focusing on different aspects. So we focus, for example, on customer centricity. I mean, if you think about a medical device, or for example, the tumor board, you really need to also understand the customer needs, right? So you really need to speak with the doctors, with physicians, with patients, to really engage with them and understand and even co-design the solution with them. So test the solution, get feedback. So again, this is a skill set that of course needs to be trained and needs of course to be built up in our different workforces, be it in the affiliates, in the marketing teams, be it in sales, but also in the development teams. Then Roche started around 5-6 years ago a full agile transformation for the whole company. So we really started at the board, right? We did somehow an understanding of the leadership style of the different leaders at the board. And then CEO -1, -2, -3, we started with rolling this out to all our leaders at Roche. So they really were being coached, understanding what is their leadership style, what are potentially improvements then they can be made, and also the vision for an agile organization was being shared. So agile is now, of course, existing since 5-6 years in the company, and we are really upskilling the complete workforce, right? So everybody until in the operational workforce in all the affiliates in all the countries have been trained and have been also exposed to what agility means in their specific area. Collaboration, very important, right? I mean, if we speak about building a future healthcare system, you need to partner, right? You need to partner, like I said before, with patients, with hospitals, with startups. You need to partner with regulators. And this, of course, requires also emotional intelligence skills, understanding really the local ecosystems in each of the countries, and this, cross-functional collaboration. So we have also set up since this year, actually, in all the affiliates roles that are really responsible for ecosystem building. So these are colleagues. Their responsibility is to find out within the country, like who are the key players, who are, let's say, the different hospitals that they can collaborate with, patient organizations, startups, to really make also public-private partnerships in that specific country. Then new ways of thinking, right? I mean, if you think about, okay, we want to make a whole shift in the healthcare system, you need to understand also system thinking, right? So understanding how everything is linked to each other, related to each other. You need to be able to think about future thinking, right? Like, what does it mean, future healthcare? How can we go there? And you need, of course, a very diverse workforce. So you need people with different skill sets, people from the tech industry, people coming from startups, people with data science skills. So these are really diverse skill sets that you need. Then, of course, we're very much focused on making a positive impact, but also on a growth mindset. So how can we overcome all the challenges in healthcare? And we also built innovation coaching skills within the organization. We really trained innovation coaches in the different business units so that they can really coach the innovation projects or digital projects in that unit. And this innovation coaching skills is also a very specific type of coaching because it understands agility, it understands design thinking, customer centricity, how do you develop business models, how do you measure value, like all of these things are very critical. So this innovation coach role is very important. So it's a lot about, culture and mindset. And like I said, this is a journey that we started 5-6 years ago. And we have, of course, created as well a network, right? So we're working more in a networked organization. So less, let's say, in different silos or different, buckets country-wise, but really it's a network across different countries, for example, of digital transformation leads, agile coaches, also a network, for example, between the affiliates, right? So that they really can share experience, can share similar projects that they have. So all of these networks and communities, they're being, stimulated and being managed across the organization. And we also have different academies, right? The digital and data academy, so people can really upskill themselves in digital knowledge and data science knowledge. Or we have an R&D academy where we're really focusing on the scientists and really helping them to also understand the transformation in science and R&D. So we really are providing a lot of resources and development opportunities for our colleagues, because of course the digital transformation needs to be hand in hand with culture and mindset shift, but also skills and development of new capabilities. So for me, it has been a very exciting journey the last, I would say, 6-7 years, where I really started focusing on creating this culture of innovation. So we really started very grassroots with a small group of people that were really passionate about innovation, and doing also workshops and supporting different business units with more like this customer-centric mindset. But out of that, we have grown like a full innovation network and innovation initiatives across different units. We have provided like different tools and programs as well, which I will show in the next couple of slides. One of the important elements that I mentioned before is, engaging with the customers, right? So in our case, patients, physicians, payers, health authorities. And of course, engaging with customers becomes more and more important, but also the way we engage with them, right? Also in a digital way, right? I mean, COVID has shown us that before COVID, we were doing everything face-to-face, traveling, but now we were forced to work fully digitally. And even hospitals, governments, they were actually getting used to this, right? So this digital customer engagement, I think, is something that will be more and more critical in the future. And why is this engagement with our end users, customers so important, right? I mean, it's really, of course, a competitive advantage to really know your customer well, but also it's not the same as doing like secondary research or surveys or market research, which will give you some insights, but doesn't tell the whole story. So the most powerful tool is to directly speak with them and to even co-design solutions with them, right? So really ask them what are their needs, to test your even early solutions with them, get feedback early on, so that once you're developing the new solutions, you really get real feedback throughout the whole development journey, and not only at the end when you launch the product and you find out that actually it's not the solution that they were waiting for. It also will help your employees, right, to build some kind of an emotional connection with the customer and also provide more purpose in their job. And specifically in healthcare, of course, it's very valuable if you know that what you're working on, even if you're in IT or in marketing, actually has a great impact on a patient, right, or on a mother of a patient or on a patient him or herself. So this, purpose and also understanding, the customer need will help your employees to even be more motivated in the work that they do. Another element that we were looking at was unlocking entrepreneurship skills within the organization. So really using, the mindset, using all the skills and the expertise of people in the organization. So we've done this by creating some kind of innovation ecosystem, as we call it. And this initiative is really looking into improving collaboration across the organization, be it with internal customers or stakeholders, but also with the external ecosystem, right? So startups, universities, governments, hospitals. And it also was looking into faster decision making. How can we be faster, more iterative process, more customer centric? So this program that we launched last year, actually during COVID, was really focused on entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs, either outside, right? So startups, but also entrepreneurs within Roche, because we have great people with great ideas, but often they're struggling in making their idea a reality. Of course, this is focusing on our Roche 10-year ambition. And it's also our vision to become a partner of choice for digital health innovation, right? So why would a startup or a hospital or patient organization partner with Roche to actually, create a digital health solution? We also want to build an ecosystem, right, or a platform where, employees, different departments can come, connect with the external ecosystem and connect with other experts across the company and get the support that they need. So we really have that platform. Then create also very important, a safe learning environment, right, where people can experiment, they feel they're helped, they're listened to, they're not being judged, when they make mistakes, etc. So really remove the barriers for innovation. So how do we do this, right? I mean, this program is focusing, of course, on building an innovation mindset. So we really focus on rapid experimentation and testing solutions early on with customers. So when entrepreneurs come into this program, we immediately, ask them, okay, did you already speak with the customer? Do you know their needs and the insights from them? So really, from the moment they join the programs, they really start interacting with the customers, be it patients, hospitals, doctors, to really truly understand what are the needs. And then again, doing this in rapid cycles, so they iterate fast and learn and fail fast. Of course, digital capabilities, right? So what we also focus on in most of these projects are their digital projects. So some of them maybe don't have all the digital capabilities or digital expertise. So we connect them with digital experts, be it, for example, in robots, process automation, be it in AI, be it in medical device expertise. So we really have this network that we can easily pull in the right expert for the right project. And by this, working in a practical project, they also learn from that. Again, customer centricity, right? So we really focus on teaching them also ways on how to understand the customer journey. So together with the innovation coach, they really go through that and understand, okay, what are the different interfaces with our customer or the end user, and also understand the customer needs. And then throughout that process, they also learn these agile capabilities, right? So they really have a hands-on experience on a project with the agile coach that are really equipped with all the knowledge. And of course, they learn by doing, right? So it's not like going to a course about Scrum or design thinking, Lean Canvas model, but you really learn it by applying it in a real project. I think it's also very important that we leverage and attract talents and also keep our talents, right? Because we have great talents at Roche, but to keep them motivated and excited, you also need to give them opportunities where they can really work on a digital project, work on a great new project, working directly with customers, working with different colleagues. And people get excited about this, right? So for them, it's also like some kind of a recognition that they can work on it. And then they get also the visibility and the support from the organization. Again, the partnering, right? So we are creating many new partnerships with startups, with our different programs. And we also have developed a database where startups can register. So we can really filter, for example, if we have a project on creating a digital app for a clinical trial, we can see, okay, which are the companies in our database that have that expertise, and quickly reach out to them. Then again, developing this ecosystem in the countries, right? Very important. So connect the different stakeholders between public and private partnerships, and really co-design the solution with them, right? So from the early on, involve them in the process, so they are also owning in the end result of the project. And very important, of course, to accelerate and scale up these innovations, right? So some of the innovations that we're supporting, they're really early innovations, or they have, just tried it out in one country with one hospital. So how do you scale it up to another country, right? And how do you scale it up maybe to multiple hospitals? So this is very important, right? To support them together with the different experts and the sponsors to make that scalability available. So the whole initiative has different work streams. And like I said before, this first work stream, where this is really this 3-month exploring program with coaching, is called the Entrepreneurship Program. So we have developed this together with Board of Innovation, our partner. Again, where they go through this 3-month journey, they get the coaching, they follow the process, and at the end of the program, they have run their experiment, have received feedback from their customers, and they present all their output and learnings to the sponsors to potentially scale up their solution afterwards. But of course, this whole program is also a development journey for them, right? So they learn a lot in these 3 months. Another part of the program is startups on site. So because of COVID, it has been a little bit delayed, but we're starting this year now to bring in really startups on the different Roche campuses to create a better connection with the local ecosystem, but to also make it easier for startups to connect with Roche colleagues when they're working on projects together, getting to know us, right? Also getting to know each other's style of working and really build that trust and partnership between the startups and Roche. Then also very exciting is the Startup Exchange Program. So this is a possibility for a Roche employee to join a startup. And of course, we are looking for startups that have a need, right? So if they say we're looking for regulatory expertise or compliance expertise or clinical trial expertise when they're developing their solution or even going into a new market. So for the startup, it's a great additional resource, but also expertise they can tap into. And of course, it's a different way of learning because the Roche colleague get really exposed to the startup culture and to what they're working on, their technologies, way of working. So the startup culture and the way of working is really something they can bring back into their day-to-day work. And for the startup, it's a great opportunity to also get insights from the pharmaceutical industry and potentially even build partnerships and even contracts with Roche. Then innovation frameworks and tools. So we are, of course, also supporting these innovators and innovation coaches with tools. We have rolled out a Kickbox crowdsourcing platform, which is really like a platform where you can submit different ideas, where you can also get an innovation coach assigned, connect with experts, right? So we have an expert panel. So if you're looking for different expertise, you can find it on the platform and you can connect directly with them. Then the innovation journey. So we really provided some kind of a playbook for innovation with different tools, from problem definition, when you go to ideation, building your solution, how do you pitch your solution to sponsors, how do you develop your business model, how do you validate it with customers, and how do you scale up your innovation. So all along this whole journey, we've created some kind of a playbook for innovation where you can find all different tools and ways how to get there. And this playbook, again, is also being used by the innovation coaches, which we are also training, right? So specific training programs for innovation coaches, which I think is gonna have a big impact, right, on the business, because these are coaches that are really sitting in the business units, in the countries or in the R&D organization. So they really have direct connection with digital projects, and they can really support their colleagues in making that digital project or innovation happen. Of course, innovation events are part of it, right? So we organize different startup days, startup events, innovation conferences, webinars, and really also providing more engagement opportunities with potential suppliers. Then the startup engagement tool, right, as I mentioned before. So we really have, together with procurement, created a database where startups can directly register themselves. And then we can use that to really understand, okay, which startup is fitting the right need of a specific project. So as you can see, throughout this whole, framework that we developed, we really are focusing on benefits for the startups, benefits for Roche, and of course, benefits for the employee. So of course, it's also about, business benefits for startup and Roche, but it's also about the employee development, right? I mean, for them, it's like learning new skills, working with different partners, building their network outside of Roche, right? Even like understanding, okay, who are potential players that can support me, working with a startup, with patient organization. So all of this is really I would say, contributing to the culture shift and the mindset way of working shift in the organization. Oh, somehow a problem with the slide. I mean, what I wanted to say at the end as well, I mean, learning and innovation, of course, go hand in hand. And the arrogance of success to think what you did yesterday will be sufficient for tomorrow, of course, cannot guarantee, right? I think we can really learn a lot from, of course, what we did yesterday, but we also need to stay open to continuously learn and also continuously partner with new partners. Thank you very much for your attention. I'm looking forward to answer any questions that you might have.
What a fantastic journey, Alan. Thank you for sharing that with us. There's such a incredible depth and breadth of what you have shared with all of us. So I'm going to ask you to turn your camera back on so that you and I can be on camera at the same time as I look through the questions that we had here from the audience. For some reason, I turned on my camera, but my camera did not come on.
Can you see me?
I am not able to see you right now either, which is interesting. Okay, so are you able to see me?
Let me see, I didn't make it bigger. I can see you, yes.
You can see me, okay. Very well. For some reason, my webcam decided to hide from myself, but it's good because I don't need to see myself. As long as you are able to see me, okay, it's okay. All right, let's go right into the questions here. So you talked about the innovator mindset in your presentation, and a lot of people have had questions about that. And so I'll send it right at you on that question on how do you effectively encourage and develop this innovator mindset throughout the organization?
Yeah. So on one hand, of course, it's inspiring, of course, people. So we have a lot of examples of innovation projects right across Roche that we also share, right? So we continuously communicate like updates on innovation projects, so really inspire them. So people can see also tangible examples, like what does it mean in R&D or in marketing or in sales, like what does it mean for me as an individual? So I think on one hand it's inspiration. On the other hand, I think it's also like the skills development, right? So, I mean, we have like these different training programs that I mentioned before, where they really get exposed to, you know, like innovation mindset. What does it mean? How do you practice it? How do you actually can use it in your day-to-day work? So I think it's on one hand inspiring, learning these skills, and of course incentivizing it as well, right? So I think also the management and the leadership, they have a big focus now on, I would say, digital health and also innovation projects, right? So I mean, I started at Roche 12 years ago. I mean, there was less interest in this, right? 12 years ago. I think now with our, you know, 10-year ambition, the objectives that we have, the way also the leadership is communicating this, it's very clear that leadership is looking for these type of digital innovations or innovation mindset, customer centricity, all of these things. So I think, you know, the way we communicate from a leadership point of view, inspiring colleagues with real tangible examples, and then at the same time capability building, I think that's very important.
And on that, Alan, what type of training and development the employees are exposed to develop some of these capabilities, to develop not only the mindset, but also the mechanisms that the organization has now to implement some of the strategies? If you can talk a little bit about that, how you're building your capabilities and your skills within the organization.
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, like there's different capability building that we do, right? So on one hand is on the digital capabilities, so we have really a digital academy. So this is really focused on really digital skills, like how do you program, you know, using different programming tools or data science tools. It's very technical, I would say. So more understanding what is artificial intelligence, data science, what tools to use as a data scientist, right? So very much focus on the digital skill set. So that's one part. And the other part, we also focus more on soft skills, right? Like more on mindset, working agile. So we have, of course, Scrum, design thinking, lean startup, right? So business model canvas. Then we have agile coaching trainings. So this is more on the soft skill side. But I think you need both, right? Of course, you need capable experts that are experts in technology, but you also need colleagues that really are more experts in, okay, how do you actually work in such a project? How do you work in an agile way? How do you develop, for example, a business model and measure that, right? So you need to really provide multiple type of trainings. And I think I've seen, again, over the last 5-6 years when we started this whole agile transformation, like a huge shift, I would say, in capabilities and also interest of the employees in these type of trainings. And now I think most organizations have enough people also that have these capabilities and skills. So they're also not dependent anymore on consultants, running, these projects for them, which I think is really important, right? To really build your own capabilities inside of the company rather than relying only on external resources like consultants doing that for you. Because then you cannot really make a sustainable transformation, right? I mean, you really need to have people within your organization that can lead those digital projects. So I think it's very important to build from the start these skills internally, and of course it will take time, and it's a whole mindset shift and way of working. But then once those skills are there, you can really use those individuals that have captured those skills and can support projects across the organization.
That's fantastic. And another theme that has emerged here in the question is that this groundswell of engagement and development of innovation mindset and actions is fantastic, especially built in kind of an agile approach to that. How do you make sure that all these things are happening in the organization are aligned with strategy and do not become a distraction, or they become somewhat of areas where you're sub-optimizing because maybe the link to the strategies are not as clear? How do you keep that connection to strategy in your execution?
Yeah, so at the moment it's very interesting. Actually, I'm part of an initiative for like all the affiliates, like we call it Pharma International and Marketing Department, where we are creating an innovation portfolio. So the idea is to really create a good, visible innovation portfolio where we, understand what are the innovation or digital projects that are across the different affiliates, different countries, and then we can align and prioritize. Okay, which projects are actually in line with our 10-year ambition? So we have like specific criteria, right? So also decision points, gates, if you can say, when they enter the portfolio, they are moving throughout their innovation journey, right? Until the point they have the MVP or proof of concept tested with end users. And then we can say, okay, what is really the value that this innovation or digital project is bringing to the customer? So we have like specific criteria, right? Like what is the value to the customer, to the patient, to the healthcare professional, to the healthcare system, the value to Roche, right? To our ambition. And then based upon those criteria, we can prioritize the projects and also remove duplication. So this is one way, I would say, of doing that, of really creating this innovation portfolio, and having then at the same time also senior managers or portfolio managers, but also senior managers from different business units being part of the review of the portfolio, so they can really see what is happening, and they can say, well, this project in Germany is very highly critical, highly strategic, very important for our future vision. Let's support them even more with resources or scale them up even quicker and say, okay, we pull this project out of the portfolio and scale it up to different countries in Europe, for example. So I think creating this visibility in the innovation portfolio, in this whole process, to have an innovation portfolio process that we're designing now, I think it will help a lot to prioritize, to avoid duplication, and to, like you say, focus on the right innovations and stop those that don't add value or are being duplicated, because this also happens, right? I mean, in one country they might do something, whereas in another country they already have done it and they learned from it. So to avoid that duplication and focus on the right innovations, having such an innovation portfolio is very critical.
This is we're out on time, but I have to say this is so exciting to see what you already have done and the journey that you're gonna be on. I often say that the best things in life are both scary and exciting, so better as well choose excitement. So this is fantastic to what you have shared with us. The details and applications of enterprise architecture and digital transformation, but it goes well beyond that. You're talking about business and cultural transformation, and we're very grateful for you to take the time to share all of this with our global audience today.
Thank you, Jose. And also, if anybody has more questions, just feel free to reach out to me.
Thank you, Alan. Terrific presentation. We appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Alan Bindels directly from Basel in Switzerland, and talking about the journey of cultural, business, and digital transformation at Roche. Fantastic insights from, again, a practitioner, a leader who is doing it, and that's something that we pride ourselves on our events, that we bring to you real practitioners, not theoretical folks who are writing books about things that they have not done. We're talking about practitioners who are implementing positive change at this time. And we're going to shift from Basel, Switzerland to United Kingdom. We're going to be in England next, where we're going to be welcoming Rakesh Patel, who is a leader with the Metropolitan Police in London. And Rakesh will be introducing you. Rakesh is already here with us, but Rakesh will formally introduce you at the top of the hour. He's going to be talking about data-driven approaches, uniting the processes around digital transformation, technology excellence, and business priorities. So take a break now, and we'll log back on at the top of the hour with Rakesh to have a full session and learn about those insights from him directly. Another great practitioner with us. So thank you. Saying goodbye for now. See you back at the top of the hour.